Human beings, hello, I hope you all are doing well. Today I wanted to go over a quick tutorial on how I made this little loop that I did for this song, so let's dive right on it. I'm about to show y'all how dedicated to the cause I actually am, because it turns out the little square version of me up here didn't know that the audio wasn't going to record. So I'm going to dub myself over what I thought I was saying with what I'm actually going to be saying in the upcoming thing that I'm going to be talking about with this tutorial. It makes sense, okay? So I'm going to let past, future, that guy, he's going to talk it out perfectly for you guys. So here you go. Alrighty, so this is Navon from the future past, here to talk to you about my recording process and how I made that compilation. So right here I'm talking about an audio error that I ran into, unfortunately, when I first tried to record this. That didn't deal with my own personal audio, but the song itself that I was using. So I just had to restart Resolve, and now it's better. So now I'm talking about the markers that I ended up making for this. So I like to go through key parts of the song since I know it and find the transition in the lyrics. So now I'm just making sure that those markers are being set and known here, and I'm going to make a few more. So after I make those 3 markers there, I go into the clips and try to find which one I want to use first. I already know which one I want to use, so I'm going to go into the One Piece clip, which is the one that you've all seen already. So I'm going over ins and out points here. You can see that there are in and out points here, and I'm going to incorporate that into just this editing process. It makes it a lot easier. So I just get to drag that clip already cut, because the clip is a lot longer than that. But with in and out points, you get to shorten and heighten the ones that you want to keep. So I'm going through this clip here, found the peak moment with Sanji here where he's finding the action, this big movement of him twisting, and then his legs on fire, and he's going to kick into Luffy here. So I put an in point right at the start of that action, and then I put an out point right at the end at the moment of impact there. So you get to drag that in and eventually resolve, and now you just get to connect the 2 clips. Now this is just a rough cut, because as you see there, it doesn't sync up with the markers. So I kind of zoom in here to make sure that I can do it. So I'll play it a bit for a minute, and when that plays, I notice that it's not right. So I'd debate which clip do I want to adjust, because I know I want it to end there. So it's easier for me to put the end clip right at the marker and then adjust from there accordingly. Then when that's all set, I test it out again, and I notice that the end clip still shows Luffy there, and I don't want that, so I kind of shorten that down. And the conclusion that I come to is that I need to elongate the intro instead of shortening the outro. So then those clips should be coming together nicely here, and boom, it's the first one done. Moving on to the next clip, we're going to be using Howl's Moving Castle. And then with this, the in and out point's already set because I've already used this clip before. And like I said, it's not going to be perfect because I started this from the very beginning. I deleted the entire timeline and I'm making it from scratch. So I want it to line up with that marker again. And what I'll do is I'm going to drag it here to the end just to make sure that it ends on that note of just those 2 being together. Or actually, I think I drag the clip. No, I don't. Okay, yeah, I bring it to the end there. Boom, and I play it again. It's a lot of just the repeat playing of this, and I really wish that it had kept the audio, because then you can hear the song kind of looping, but maybe it's maddening to hear that, and maybe I'm one of the few people that can just tolerate hearing that on loop, on loop, on loop. So that's fine. You just get to hear me talking to you now and me moving on to the next clip. And I'm talking about the Space Dandy clip and the Cowboy Bebop and how they're 2 different scenes. With this one, yeah, you can see the Space Dandy's space background here, but that's not from Cowboy Bebop, obviously. So I just used the first episode from both of those and just found a space scene that I could kind of seamlessly go into, since there's only 3 moments in the song. But I knew I wanted a 4th transition. So same old here, just making sure that this is lining up with the markers and dragging the space scenes into each other. And while lining these up, I think I'm just going over the same steps, the same exact steps. And what I'll be going into next, actually, is talking about how loops necessarily work. I don't know professionally how they work, but what I do know is it's just copy and pasting. And technically, I could end up not copy and pasting and just kind of doing the first part and kind of letting the clip just do its own thing on its own. But I didn't do that, okay? I wanted to do the whole thing because it's slightly different overall. Hey, you watching this video, you like what you're seeing right now? Well, how about you like and subscribe? Do the thing. There we go. They like and subscribe. If you don't like it, I'm going to take exactly one dietary supplement. So it'll be your fault if I take a dietary supplement. So do it, because I don't want to take it. Skipping ahead here, I'm going into color correction, because if you are going to copy and paste a clip, or paste a clip, you're going to want to have all those clips color corrected before you copy it, because otherwise you're going to have to color correct all those other clips. So when you're working with a small set of clips here, when it's just 5, you just color correct those, copy it, and then you paste it. So now I'm going over just the basic color corrections that I know here, to where I'm looking at the whites that were there and those were too bright, and I want to bring those down and kind of just highlight the fire there. So just by doing that, you just simply just turn the knob down. For this, I think I decided on a 0.8, but in the actual compilation that I did end up doing, I think I brought it down to like 12 maybe, or maybe higher than that. I want to say -12, and then with the gamma, I went to like a -5, and then the gain, I believe, is the same. So I went a little extra with that one. So for this was just to give a general tutorial about basic color correcting and just seeing the white just going to dark and me going to the key moments in it. That's the moment that'll stick in your brain the most, and starting with my color correction there versus the buildup of the kick, and so on and so forth. So I'm just going through each individual clip here, looking at it and just really eyeballing the color correction. And I'm saying how anyone can do this. This is just with basic color correction knowledge. There's like a whole hour tutorial video that I really want to get into to really figure out the ins and outs of color correcting. But for now, I find this to be enough for small work like this, especially for my own enjoyment. I don't need to know the super mastery level of color correcting and really knowing how to read that graph there on the bottom right. I'm just kind of going for what I know here. So with this one, I'm talking about how I just only want the background darker. They didn't really need to be darker. So I think I lift up the game just a tiny bit just to have them be highlighted a little bit more, but still keeping that background nice and dark. And that was simple for House Moving Castle. Then for the spaceship, because it's already dark, I kind of wanted to just make the ship a little lighter because the ship is kind of bright. So I didn't want their background to be affected too hard. So I'd probably go for like a 0.3 maybe for this one. Yeah, I did a 0.3 here, and then just a 0.2 just to give it a little more light. And then lastly, for the Space Dandy clip, in the original, the published version, I actually went darker. But for this one that I was making here, whenever I decided to get to that slide, I believe I made it lighter, which was interesting. So I chose the gain to be about probably like 0.5. I didn't do much with the lift, I don't believe, because it's already dark as is. And I kind of was focusing on that North Star there, or whatever you want to call it, that little flash when the spaceship leaves. So kind of just making sure that's focused and then brightening up the planets around that. So yeah, not too bad with the color correcting here. So here I'm just copy and pasting those in. And with that in, you still have to adjust it because it won't be perfect when you copy and paste it in, because of how this song is. Even the song itself isn't a perfect loop. He's like slightly slower in his delivery of the song. I wish you could hear it. But I think even in my published compilation, you can kind of see some very slight like microsecond inconsistencies of when the kick lands, or like when the hug from Sophie on How kind of lands too, but then it picks itself back up. So I think I nailed like 3 out of 4 of those, so I'll take that when doing it. But here I'm talking about transitions and how I have to go about that. So since I do most of this work on a laptop, well, not even most of it, all of this work on my laptop, I have to end up just kind of throwing random transitions in there. And I had opened up the Fusion page earlier saying how you can make your own transition. There have been times where I've had to make them myself. But for this one, luckily, Dissolve has some great just presets that you can use. So I just kind of drag them in randomly because my computer can't highlight and show me what the transition looks like while I'm in the software. And it's not because Dissolve's bad, it's just my laptop's bad. So what I'll do is I end up rendering out everything, since it kind of downloads everything and you won't see the buffering that's happening in Dissolve. That way I can see what these transitions look like. Luckily, since I used my last compilation, I know what most of them look like just kind of in my head, so I don't have to see them rendered out. So that's what I'm talking about here. And I'm just going to drag in the things that I remember using for the original compilation. And I'm just going in, and I'm struggling to remember which one I used exactly, but eventually I get there. So here my mind has finally wrapped its mind around which transitions I use exactly. So I'm just sliding those into the composition. And once I finish this, it's basically just rinse and repeat. You're just going to add in those same transitions there, and then you just copy and paste until the end of the song. So let's take a look at that final project.
You hold me, and I was
my compilation I made in DaVinci Resolve. That little loop there. That was real fun to make. And if y'all liked it, please like and subscribe. And let me know if y'all like content like this. I plan on making more compilations in the future, alongside obviously doing the game show and the little hype man reviews of the shows and games that I like to play. So I hope y'all enjoyed and hope y'all have a good rest of your day.